Okay, creative crunch. You rarely meet your own expectations, and it's leaving you disappointed. You know that feeling? When, yeah, it's kind of like you work towards something, you feel disappointed. So, I know this photographer, and he takes extraordinary photos. And he gets to travel a lot, his expenses paid, people paying for his time. He travels all over the world, and he gets to see many things that you and I only get to see on the internet. And his perception of his work is that there is a long way to go, yet he has thousands of Instagram followers. His pictures are in magazines. He's got experienced photographers looking up to him. He has customers have these prints on his wall, in their articles, in their social media, yet he still thinks he sucks. Can you see this in yourself, or possibly somebody you know who's amazing? And we all have this sort of expectations of ourselves, and we can all have these disappointments in ourselves, right? And tonight we're going to look at why. And it's quite a simple idea, but it can be life-changing if you have awareness around this idea. And so, also thank you, Shani Taylor, for exposing me to this idea. And I've talked about it before, but tonight I'm going to talk about it in a different way. And it's about to do with your awareness and awareness of your abilities and how that can change. And also how that changing impacts your perception of where you are, as in where you are in life. So thanks, Shani, for teaching me this. And it originally comes from a French philosopher, but I can't remember his name. I was looking through my notes and I couldn't find it. So acknowledging the unknown French philosopher who came up with this, and you might actually know who it is. If you do, pop it in the comments, and also just let me know if the sound is good. And so I'm going to draw you a picture. And awareness can be sort of like concentric circles, right? And once again, acknowledging Shani for teaching me this. And so when you start something, you can see this little circle there, right? We start with a limited amount of knowledge, a limited amount of awareness. And as we grow and learn, our awareness of what's possible expands, right? And what happens as we expand, we forget what it was like to be in the middle of the circle, what it was like to have that limited awareness, right? And as we expand, we become aware of what's possible in the next kind of, not my best circle, but in the next concentric circle. And so there's this constant expansion from one level to the next. And what happens is at each level, so from here, we're aware of what's next, and then we move to what's next. We forget what we were like in the past, but we also become aware of what else is possible. And so our skills, our knowledge, our ability to create becomes more expanded. However, we forget what it was like when we weren't as expanded. And so as you go deeper down this rabbit hole, you expand and you expand and you expand. But at each level, you forget what it was like to be having less expansion, and you are aware of what you don't know on some level, right? So you're sort of aware of like, oh, I know that that exists, but I can't do it, right? And out here are things that you totally have no awareness of, right? So let's use the example of painting. So let's say you're starting at paintings and you like have an experience of doing a painting and you're like, oh, this is really cool. I'd like to do more of this. And what happens is you start to look to how other people have painted. So for example, you might go crazy watching Bob Ross videos or something, but you become aware of what other peoples have done and you begin to imitate and copy and learn their styles. And that means your awareness of the topic expands. What happens is you get better, but this judgment of yourself from the beginning, it sticks with you. And so you don't perceive that you're actually getting better. And is this resonating for you? Is this making sense? Feel free to comment and let me know. Now, let's just see if I can see comments here. Okay. And, oh yes, there we go. Comments have come up. And so this pattern repeats over and over again. And we were talking about the example of painting. And so each time you learn a new skill or you become aware of paintings more deeply, so for example, you might do a deep dive into texture. And so you become aware of what's possible with texture. But then you're still judging yourself by what is the next level. And so you might improve at texture, but you're still judging yourself as being at a lower level than what you actually are. And this causes people to hide, right? And it also causes us to not meet our expectations or feel like we're not meeting our expectations. And so a little strategy for this that I have is just release it anyway, right? There's always like this expectation, and particularly if I've been familiar with a piece of work for a while, my inner critic can come in. And I'm sure you're aware of this too and experience this, where you've been working on something and initially you're immersed in it, but over time you sort of start to judge it, right? Does that make sense? Yeah, I see that happen in myself a lot. But what my strategy is don't believe my own opinion, right? Trust the feeling when I was creating it and first immersed in it, and that it has value. And I just got your message there, Soul. So yeah, so the example is like for music. Let's say if I write a song, right? And I've become very familiar with the song, but my awareness continues to expand. And I'm judging my song as being no good because I have an awareness of what the next level is, of what it could sound like, rather than where I'm operating from. And so my expectations of myself or my music can always be less than what my awareness is, even though compared to when I started over 20 years ago, I've come so far, and that version of me from 20 years ago would be astonished at what I can do. However, the psyche is like, it's not very good. Is this good enough to share, right? So, you know, if we come back to the example of paintings, it's like, you know, as you become more and more immersed into painting, you start in your life to see lights and darks and shades and colors and texture and symmetry and perspectives, and it becomes integrated into your being that you don't know that it's there. And you've come so far, and so you're actually walking around as an artist with the awareness of an artist, but judging yourself for being back here somewhere at the beginning. Right? And this pattern repeats over and over again, and you can always be doubting your skills. Right? It's a very, very natural thing, and it happens to most people, but obviously you don't want that judgment or that inner critic to be running the show. And so the most important strategy that I know of is simply to be aware that this pattern exists. One that you quite possibly rarely be satisfied with your work, because your awareness of what's possible extends beyond your skills. However, your skills are already amazing. So, for example, you know, there's a musician that I work with that's been playing for 33 years or more. He's amazing. But his inner critic will be telling him that he's not, right? And it's learning that that inner critic is there. And if you're on the Gold Coast November 28th, we're going to be looking at that inner critic. And so there's a workshop, and it's called the Break Through Your Barriers. And I've run a full day version of Break Through Your Barriers before. This version is a 2-hour version. It's at Dust Temple. Early Bird is running at the moment. It's finishing soon. And it's going to be the type of workshop that no matter what level you're at with your circles, you're going to get something out of it. And so we'll be digging into the inner critic, and you'll be walking away with strategies to help you move forward and be in flow, right? And I'll be really honest, financially it's very economical, and time-wise it's really efficient. It's only 2 hours. It's a Monday night, so that musicians and creatives, people with families, hopefully have an opportunity to come rather than a Friday, Saturday night. So Monday night, November 28th, early bird. Link is in the comments. Suggest you click on it, because I'd love to help you move forward and help you create more of what you want to create in your life. And it's really powerful work when you can start to do that work, and you have a vision of what's possible, because it is possible. And sometimes it's just taking action or courage. So click on the link. Like, honestly, click on the link and come and experience more of yourself and the gift of yourself. And yeah, I think you'll find that it's really worthwhile and a great investment, and something that you can use for the rest of your life. All right, so in summary about this awareness, all right, and rarely meeting your expectations, if you consider the idea of expanding concentric circles, and that's your awareness, at each level you forget what it was like in the past, you're aware of what it's like in the future, but you have this phenomenal skill set that you're developing, but you don't realize that it's developing. You don't see how far you've come, right? And it can make you hide. It can make you stop, because your perception is that you suck, right? When in truth, you've come a very, 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 very long way. So let me know in the comments what's been of value to you, and if there's any insights that you'll be taking away with you. And the strategy I suggested tonight is just knowing that this exists and being mindful of it, right? See it, keep an eye out for it, right? It's the practice of being aware that makes your progress, and it makes it easier. So being mindful and present, and go, I just saw that this was playing out for me today. Okay, let's practice working through it and releasing anyway, and sharing anyway, and creating anyway. As always, thank you for tuning in, and I really hope to see you soon, particularly if you're around the Gold Coast and want to come to the November 28 workshop. Link is in the comments. Click on it, early bird, and feel free to bring some friends and share the gift of that work. So thank you for joining, and we'll see you again soon. Good night.